When I was a kid, I used to be deathly afraid of my closet. It was one of those irrational fears kids seem to develop after they are left alone in the darkness of their rooms. I would lie awake, peeking from underneath the safety of my blanket towards that stoic wooden door, wondering to myself what terrors could possibly lie behind it. Terrors just waiting for the moment to strike, for the moment when I drop my guard. I didn't always have this fear, and I'm not exactly sure when it started. I just recall one night, after my parents had wished me good night and retired themselves, I stayed awake a little bit longer than I usually do. While I tried to force myself to sleep, it all seemed in vain as my eyes would shoot open a few minutes later. I tossed and turned endlessly, and when I rolled over, my eyes drifted towards my closet. Looking at it, it just seemed like an ordinary door, at first. As the minutes ticked by and my eyes remained fixed, I thought I saw the knob slowly begin to twist. I heard no sound from the door, though that was probably attributed to the thudding heartbeat that had made its way into my ears. I watched the door with bated breath, and that's when my mind began to fabricate these monsters, hiding away. Giant, horrific creatures, just sitting in the dark space that was my closet. I thought the door began to creak open, and when that happened, I screamed as hard as I could for my parents. They both came rushing into my bedroom. The light from the hallway bathed my room in a warm glow. They asked me what was wrong, and when I turned to look at my closet, it seemed as normal as it had any other night. I pointed to the door, and my mother assured me everything was fine. My father sighed, but ventured over to the closet and pulled the door open. When he did, I winced at the prospect of a creature coming through and attacking him, but nothing did. He flipped on the closet light and called me over. I sheepishly walked next to him and looked inside. Various clothes and other miscellaneous toys were strewn about inside. He patted me on the shoulder and told me there was nothing to be afraid of, and I nodded. They both guided me back to bed and wished me good night once again. I looked at my closet a single time more before slowly closing my eyes and drifting off. As the years passed, my fear persisted. I would hear noises emanating from the other side of my closet every so often. I would imagine the doorknob twisting and turning. I knew these events were all my subconscious fabricating them, but still, the fear was very real. It wasn't until my second year of high school that my irrational fear suddenly shifted into something more tangible. While I was much older than my first experience, I still felt a twinge of fear on the nape of my neck any time I'd turn out the lights in my bedroom. While I had gotten better at abating my fear by chanting "It's all in my head," I still found myself keeping an eye open on that imposing door. As I was slowly drifting off to a much-needed rest, I heard something that ripped me out of my sleep. It was a dull creak of metal and wood. It was a sound unmistakable of a door slowly opening. My eyes opened so fast that I thought they would pop out of my skull. I rolled over and felt a bead of sweat trace its way along the side of my face. My closet door was ajar. My eyes focused in on the small sliver of darkness that lined the crack of the door. I held my breath and waited, hoping the door had just come loose somehow. In a flash, I spotted something through that tiny crack in the door. It looked like an eye, gray and lifeless. Its cloudy appearance seemed to reflect the little moonlight that seeped into my room. When I saw it, I screamed and jumped out of my bed as quickly as possible. I dashed towards the light switch in my bedroom and turned it on. My room was filled with light as I opened my bedroom door and continued on into my living room. My parents were stirred by the sudden ruckus and came rushing out to greet me. They asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't seem to find my voice to explain to them. I took a long, ragged, deep breath and told them that I saw a very large spider in my room, and they both turned to each other and shook their heads. I apologized for waking them up, and they both returned to their bedroom. I spent the remainder of that night asleep on the couch in the living room. As more years passed, I spent the majority of my evenings in the living room, rather than my own bed. My parents were concerned at first, but I assured them that I was much more comfortable on the couch. It wasn't until I graduated high school and got my own place did things worsen. I had got myself a small one-bedroom apartment towards the center of town. I didn't sleep in my bedroom for the first month I was there. I had just become so accustomed to watching TV and falling asleep on my couch that the trend seemed to continue. It wasn't until I had gotten home from a particularly taxing day at work that I dragged my body into my bedroom and plopped down on the bed. This bedroom, of course, had a closet as well, but it was on the other side of the room opposite the bed. I felt a twinge of nerves beginning to build in the back of my mind as I finally realized where I was. However, I managed to quickly bury the nerves as I told myself that I was an adult now, and I shouldn't harbor these childish fears. My eyelids slowly shut, and I felt my mind beginning to slip into a peaceful slumber. It was the first time in a long time that I actually slept undisturbed in my own bed. When my eyes cracked open, as the sunlight peeked through my window, I felt a smile warmly crawl across my face. However, that smile immediately faded as I looked over towards my closet. The door was cracked open. I sat up in bed and looked around. There was no sign of anyone aside from me in the bedroom. I felt a chill shoot throughout my veins, as I knew for a fact that the door had been shut before I fell asleep. Memories of that first night from my past flooded back into me. I quickly searched through my entire house and found no sign of any foreign visitors. I even checked my other doors and windows, which all seemed to be tightly secured. I ventured back into my bedroom and looked inside the closet. It was barren, as I haven't even opened it to put any of my clothes inside. I turned on the closet light and double-checked that it was empty. I shut the door and slumped onto my bed. I tried to think of a reason as to how the door could have opened, but every thought seemed to be a dead end. I chalked it up to a loose doorknob and got ready for work. I continued the next few weeks spending my evenings sleeping on the couch, as I was still shaking off the events of that night. Then, after another long day at work, I found myself once again falling face first onto my bed. I passed out almost instantly upon resting my face into the pillow. While I slept, I had very turbulent dreams of falling into a vast black void. I felt my body collide with something in my dream, and it shunted me awake. My eyes slid open, and I exhaled a heavy sigh. It was then I felt a presence nearby, like I was no longer alone in my own room. I could feel frustration building within me, as I've been through this time and time again. I rolled over to look at my closet, and I stopped. My body began trembling in my bed. My eyes were straining to focus, and my brain went totally blank. There was half a body sticking out from the open closet door. I could only see the right half, but it wasn't natural. An arm draped down the length of its body, with a gnarled hand resting upon the ground. The torso was an ashen color and seemed to have various protrusions jutting out from where the ribcage should be. Its head, which was cocked to the side, sent a fear through me that nearly stopped my heart. The constant thrumming of my heartbeat shifted to what felt like a beat every minute. Two cloudy eyes held an expression of curiosity and excitement. Long black hair dangled off its head and swayed near its shoulder. A sharp pointed nose rested above a hideously grotesque grin. A large maw filled with razor-sharp teeth that almost seemed to resemble a shark. It just stood there for a few moments, snickering at me, as if it was taking pleasure in my torment. A tapping sound began tracing its way up the back of the door, and I spotted 4 spindly fingers, like spider's legs, reaching over the top, while I watched the other hand that rested on the floor lift up to grip the right edge of the door. The instant I saw that door shift a millimeter, my body threw itself towards my bedroom door. I swiped my keys off the coffee table and sprinted out to my car. I sat in my car for the remainder of the night. Even though I didn't drive anywhere, I didn't take my hands off the steering wheel. Eventually, the sun came up, and after a significant amount of time passed, I drove to my nearest hardware store. I bought enough nails and wood to last me through an entire zombie apocalypse. When I returned home, I found my closet was shut. Not taking any chances, I boarded up that closet and every other closet in my entire apartment. I know it's all probably just a fabrication in my mind. However, I can't shake the feeling that it just might be real. And on some days, as I lie there awake at night, I think I can hear faint tapping coming from behind my closet door.